All right, welcome back to another episode of Combos with KEEGS. I'm here with Kat James, tattoo artist out of Denver, Colorado, and you are the official first uh, tattoo artist collab that we're doing.
Sick.
Yeah, it's a exciting milestone because this is the first one, and then everyone after that it'll be every week. So yeah, I'm excited, and thank you for doing this. By the way, I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
dude, your whole project seems really cool. I'm happy to be a part of it. So
Well, thank you. But let's jump right into it. So, what got you into the tattoo world? I think that's a question that is never really asked to artists like yourself.
yeah, it's also a really tricky question. I was interested in tattooing when I was really young. I actually had a phone call with a really old friend from high school who I hadn't talked to in years, and he was like, "Do you remember you like used to draw like with Sharpie on us all the time?" And like we always talked about how you were going to be a tattoo artist, and I literally had forgotten that I did that. Um, so it's been on my mind like since I was young, and I was always like a kid that was drawing and stuff. But I had gone to school for graphic design, and I asked my mom my freshman year of college, like, can I get an apprenticeship for tattooing? I think that's what I want to do. And she was like, we're not going to pay for college if you're just going to become a tattooer. Like, what's the point?
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, fair. I guess I'll just maybe do it later or something. So I kind of pushed it off for years, and I did graphic design as a freelancer for a really long time. And then when I left college, I just wanted to travel. I just wanted to go live in Mexico and go live in Australia and I just wanted to go travel the world. And I could do that with freelance graphic design. And I knew that if I wanted to pursue tattooing, I would have to like set roots somewhere and like stay and get a traditional apprenticeship. I know there's other ways, but I knew that that's what I wanted. Um, but my life led me down a path of going to live in Mexico. And when I was down there, one of my roommates, I expressed like, man, I really want to get into tattooing still. Like it's still something I'm super passionate about. And she's like, just teach yourself. And I was like machines are really intimidating. Like I don't think I want to do that. And she's like, no, hand poke. Just teach yourself hand poke, and then you can go on from there. And so I did. She let me do my first tattoo I ever put on anybody on her in our kitchen. Like,
dang,
yeah. And it was crazy, dude. I felt like I had done it before. It came
really?
so
Wow.
naturally to me. Yeah. And so I kept doing hand poke. It was just like casual. Like I tattooed a bunch of the other surfer kids we were hanging out with, and we were traveling all over Mexico. So I was just kind of taking it with me. And every time somebody knew that I did it, they wanted one. And I ended up doing it for like 2 years. I brought it back to San Diego, which is where I'm from originally. I did it there for, yeah, so up until like 2 years. And then I was posting about it on Instagram. I started making a better like living doing that than I was doing graphic design. And I was having more fun and meeting more people and like connecting with people and like being in meaningful situations. And I completely like dropped like graphic design after a certain point.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then there was a million things. Like I went to Hawaii for some random person wanted a hand poke from me, bought me a ticket as a trade to do a tattoo on him there.
What?
Yeah, I had a 4 day trip booked there and ended up like living there for like months after that.
Holy
Yeah, it
smokes!
was super spontaneous. I've just like kind of gone by the seat of my pants, like just flying, doing
Yeah.
whatever comes my way. And when COVID hit, I was living in Hawaii, had a one-way trip booked to Australia. I was supposed to get there, never did. Um, and that's where I wanted to do my apprenticeship. And so got rerouted, and I somehow ended up in Denver. And that's where I ended up doing my apprenticeship for machine tattooing.
Dang. So, how long have you been tattooing?
So my first like hand poke stuff was like 4 years ago. Um,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, so I've only been I mean, my apprenticeship ended in February, so I haven't even been a resident artist for an entire year yet. Um,
Got you.
but I've been like putting tattoos on people for 4 years, so I don't know
Yeah,
how tough it was.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said you were supposed to go to Australia during COVID because I was actually in Australia when COVID hit.
Funny.
Yeah,
You got
so
out.
Yeah, me and my buddy were traveling. We went to Southeast Asia for a few months, and then we were in Thailand when COVID like really started to take off. We were supposed to go to Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, and when I got to Australia, I was out of money. So I was like, I just need to get back to the States because
Dang.
I don't know what's gonna happen there. But I know you said previous to this that you were planning on relocating, probably. Is that still true?
Previous to
Like in our conversations
oh
over
yeah,
messages.
yeah. So I mean I have had my sights set on Australia since graduating college.
Yeah.
And there was like a various number of reasons why I just like never made the jump. And then this past one when COVID hit was like the closest. I had a one-way ticket. I had a like van booked. I've been trying to get there. And when I moved to Denver, it was never a place I wanted. I was never like, I really want to live in Denver. It's so far from the ocean.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the country. I've been wanting to live internationally. So that's been like a goal of mine for a long time. I didn't know what the timeline would look like on that. But I remember when I moved here, bought myself a puffy jacket because I'd never lived like in the cold, and I sewed an Australia patch on it the first week I moved here. And yeah, so I'm moving. I'm making my way to Australia.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'm actually done here in Denver. The first week of December, I'm heading out.
Dang, that's
I
coming
know.
quick.
I know. Tell me about
Um,
it. Oh my
that
god.
is gnarly. So is this? Let's kind of get into this. The event that you're putting on. Is that kind of like your farewell?
You know what's funny is that event actually it totally completely grew organically, and yeah, because of the timing it's kind of turning out to be that way, but that's
Mm-hmm.
never what it was planned to be. um, Last year in February when I graduated my apprenticeship, I wanted to throw just like a social gathering to like bring all of the people that I had met over the year because I came out to Denver and I didn't know anybody. And tattooing is like this revolving door of friends, basically.
Yeah.
It just like I'm constantly fed like new people every
Yeah.
day that I work. And so I have now this huge network and community of like really, really cool people that all would get along so well. But there's like, how do you hang out with all of them and how do you get them all in one space? And above that, like how do you get them in a space that's like more genuine? Because all of these people, dude, I can't even tell you, 90% of the people that come and lay on my tattoo table they're bummed about their social life.
Yeah.
They lack genuine connection with other people. They're in small circles. They want, so I mean, a lot of them want to date people, and then that's a whole nother thing. But even
Mm-hmm.
just friends wise, like people, you go out to a bar or whatever, like these social situations that you're like supposed to be able to meet people, but like you never really have like you don't sit down and get to know somebody, and you have surface level conversations, and then everyone's left unfulfilled. And so anyway, I saw the opportunity to just have this social gathering because we were all connected by this one like whatever tattooer person, me. And so I threw a big party with a bunch of people. I was like, okay, I can't just throw a party like for nothing. So I invited a bunch of my artist maker friends who like make rings. A friend of mine like makes stuff out of recycled skateboards, and a couple other like random friends. And then I had like people sponsor a bunch of friends that worked at breweries sponsored with alcohol and whatever. Anyways, we just had this. I called it Old Soul Fiesta. So my brand that I've been working under is Old Soul New Tricks,
Mm-hmm.
and soul is spelled SOL like the sun in Spanish.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I called it Old Soul Fiesta, and I didn't know how many people were going to show up. I didn't know what the night was going to look like really at all, but I wanted to incentivize people buying from the artists and actually supporting them and not just coming for the party. So I did a raffle, and every time a person bought something from an artist, every item you got, you earned a ticket, a raffle ticket. And the raffle was to win prizes that each of the artists had submitted a prize, plus there was a 4-hour tattoo session with me. Um, and dude,
Dang.
that was one of the best, most fulfilling nights of my entire life, honestly,
Like,
because so many people were connecting with each other. It was and meeting each other, and they had like this easy icebreaker that was they had similar tattoos, or they saw. I post like a reveal every time I do a tattoo on
mhm.
my story. People are like, oh, I saw that one, like so they could just talk to each other, and it was like these this social space where people weren't just having surface level interactions. It was really cool.
I mean, that sounds amazing, and I totally agree. Like to your point about going to a bar and having not really connecting with people, and I guess this kind of plays right into the mental health aspect of tattoos. It's like I totally agree. Even with myself, like I find it difficult to kind of find new friends and date and try and be in social settings where like I just don't feel like I fit in.
Yeah.
And even last night, like, I love my friends to death, and I was happy I got to celebrate their birthday, but at the same time, like, bars just at 2 in the morning just aren't my crowd.
It's an
um,
environment thing too,
yeah, it
for
definitely
sure.
is.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, an event like that where like you're the common denominator and everyone has your tattoos and everything. That sounds like something that I should try and get my tattoo artist to do, because, I mean, that's like a foolproof way to just connect with the exact type of people you want to,
I
you
mean,
know?
the art community is like a really, really special place because art's such a vulnerable thing. It's not just like making things to sell them. We're not just business owners. We're also like expressing a lot of our vulnerable things and sensitive sides, and I don't know, things that don't get to get said in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're sitting there trying to share it with people and then trying to get fulfillment that other people are like connecting with us because of them. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's part of the reason that kind of drew me to tattoos in the first place. Like, there's no better feeling than getting a tattoo, like the whole process from finding a design to finding an artist, and then picking the placement, picking the size, getting it, letting it heal. Like, it's a whole process that you got to go through. Um, and to, especially like, are you pretty heavily tatted?
Um, yeah, kind of. I have like a lot on my legs and my arms,
Yeah.
but a lot of
So
my legs are from me. I've done a lot of them, so
you've done a lot of the work on yourself?
yeah.
Dang, that's sweet. Do you do it on your legs because it's easier to stretch the skin? Like, you can't really do it on the
You know what
arm,
it
you
is?
know?
I think the most, yes, because you want to be able to use your left hand or your opposite,
Yeah.
whatever. But also like your body gets so tired. Like I have a tattoo on my leg that took me 4 hours, and if it was not on, and it's kind of on the side of my leg, and
Yeah.
it's like if it wasn't on, it's the shark.
Dang. That's gnarly.
Yeah, it fucking took so long. But if it's on like a side where I'm like our bodies hurt. Our bodies hurt so much. And
Yeah.
I can tell you that because I'm on day 5 of tattooing every single day, and I have 9 days ahead of me. And I mean, you talk about how you do yoga. I'm like, our bodies hurt. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the reason is just accessibility. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
I can imagine. I'm trying to get my artist to get a new chair because she's on this like thin piece of plywood. There's no support at
Yes,
all. And I'm
needs
like,
one definitely.
you sit in that thing for 8 hours a day. Why don't you just invest in a better one? Which I guess, I mean, like, do you have a specific chair or, a specific setup that kind of alleviates the pain of being a tattoo artist?
I mean, it's funny because I probably sit in the same category as your tattooer. No, I mean I have like it's like a semi comfortable chair, but when it comes down to it, like, it doesn't really matter what you do. Like,
Yeah.
we're hunched over, like, being super close. We're like,
Yeah.
I'm holding like my stability with my legs. Like, my whole body is sore at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't matter if I sit on like a super comfy chair or not. Like, I'm gonna hurt no matter what. So like,
Yeah.
it's here nor there, kind of.
I got you. I got you. Kind of going back into the traveling aspect of tattoos. That's another reason why I love them so much, because you can go, like,
Who collects
there's
them?
yeah, and there's a community in each place of their own artists and styles and
In their
everything.
culture. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like when I was trying to find artists to do these collaborations, I was noticing a ton, and obviously Australia is huge. Um, the UK was big too. A lot of the European countries, and Bali was also massive. I
Mm-hmm.
remember going there, and there was a tattoo shop every 5 buildings. That felt like.
Yeah.
Um, so, do you think after Australia, like whenever you're like, all right, I had my fun here, would you consider going to a different country?
Um, I so part of my thing with Australia, people are like, where are you going? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to have plans.
Yeah,
I just want to like see what opportunities come up and be willing to take them. I've set too many times in my life, I've like set a goal and like set this idea of what I want, and I've strived so hard for it that sometimes when other opportunities come up, you say no to them because you're so like set on this idea of what you think your future is going to look like. But the reality is, if you talk to anyone that you've ever met in your life and you ask them, what would you 5 years ago think of what you're doing now? There's nobody that is like doing what they thought they were going to be doing. There's so many unknowns in life.
very
So like,
true.
sure, I'm willing to go somewhere else. I mean, if I were to guess, I think I'll probably set roots, and I think Australia will be home for me, but that's just a random guess. Like, I'm not like set on that.
Hmm.
Um, but this thing with Old Soul Fiesta, this event that I started, after that first one, I had to do a second one. It was just, everybody just had such a good time, and everybody was mutually benefited by this thing. So we did another one, and then at the end of that one, same kind of thing happened, and I wanted to do it bigger and better, and that goes into mental health. I was a zombie. I was burned out, and it was so much hard work, and told myself I needed more of a team and more time and all these things. And anyway, so this is Old Soul Fiesta 3, and after having gotten my footing a little bit with event coordination in this, and I'm still like burning up with
Yeah,
how much energy and money and everything that I've put into this.
yeah.
But I've kind of started building a team, and doing Old Soul Fiestas all over the world is something that I've very seriously considered and thought of as a future for me.
That would be amazing. Would you kind of, I mean, like you said, it's a lot of work to do those kind of events and, put on the whole production of it. So would that be more of like you would split time between tattooing and planning these events around the world? Does that make
That's a good
sense?
question. Um, I I don't know. I think, I'm so glad that this timing worked out to like meet and have this conversation with you, because the the burning out that I'm doing is like not just Old Soul Fiesta.
Hmm.
It's tattooing.
Gotcha.
But it's everything, because
Yeah.
when you have a career that you get to make the rules, it comes with more responsibility and it comes with more freedom. And it can get dangerous for people that are like opportunistic, like me.
Yeah.
And there's so much like productivity to be had, and I get to make the rules of when I do it. And the harder I work, the more I earn, and the more fulfilling it is. There's like so much more to gain. And it's really hard to design a lifestyle that's sustainable in doing and like constantly saying yes to things. And so with tattooing, I mean, you just heard me say I've fucking tattooed for 5 days, and I'm about to tattoo for like 9 more days. And
Yeah.
part of that is because I know I'm leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not far off from what I was doing a year ago or what I was doing 6 months ago. Like I do. So I think that also with something like art where it's not just work that I do and then I come home and I have my life. Like I'm 24/7. I'm working on my business.
Yeah.
Um, Whether that's drawing or actually doing tattoo stuff, or it's posting on social media, or like emailing and communicating with people, or like making stickers so that I have them when I go out and meet people at the grocery store. Like just it's nonstop. And so um, when I go to Australia, I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah.
Just turn off work for like a second, like reset and see like there's so many things about tattooing that are super fulfilling, and most of them are what I find in this event space, which is like connecting deeply with people. And so I don't know if tattooing something that will take a back seat, and I'll do like kind of guest spots in specific places that I go to like make sure I'm keeping up with it. But I don't see myself working at a shop and like having a consistent like, oh, you want to book with me like 2 months? Like no, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't book my life out 2 months. I don't even know. I don't want to know what I'm doing next week.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it. And that's definitely the struggle of a lot of small business owners. I've realized, like after starting Lonely Cowboy, I just gained a massive amount of respect for business owners that have been successful, because now like
Yeah.
I understand it is 24/7 and there's really no turning it off.
No.
But like you said, it comes with a lot of freedom, and it comes with um, like the ability to make your own schedule and create the art you want to create and do all these things. But like you said, again, the flip side of that is what no one sees, and it's just a constant 24/7
Yeah.
nonstop. And even to your point of like being on social media, I think this is kind of an interesting topic specifically for small business owners and artists like yourself, because that is a big part of the job, you know. And I don't really see another way to kind of promote yourself now. You know, that like social media is, that's the way to do it. That's how you make money.
Well, I would say that there's a million other ways to promote yourself, but this is the best way. It's the most
Yes, yes.
use of your time. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great tool. I mean, I wouldn't, like I said, I came here, I didn't know anyone in Denver. And for the first 6 months of my apprenticeship, I never touched a tattoo machine. But by the time I opened my books, because of how I was using Instagram, I mean, I had the background of graphic design and freelancing, and so I knew what I was doing. I went to school like for graphic design and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I opened my books, I had 2 months of a wait list already.
Wow.
That's because of Instagram. I would not have had that otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a really honestly beautiful tool, and there's a lot of downsides to it, sure, like everything, you know, but I feel really lucky to be in this space now, especially as a tattooer. Like 10 years ago, tattooers weren't using Instagram for social media. You had to be in a good shop
Yeah.
to get the
Yeah.
attention. And I don't know, it just, there's a lot of things that are automated for us. There's like, you have to keep up with the algorithm and all this stuff. It's like, I remember reading a book once that was, if you ask everybody what they want in life, everyone's gonna say like they want connection, they want money, they want freedom, everybody wants the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't help you decide like what you want to do in your life. Like it doesn't help you decide what work you want to do or where you want to live. What helps you decide what you want to do and what's important to you is what costs you are willing to deal with. And I think that that's like, the freedom is so important to me that the cost of running my business 24/7, or the cost of having to keep up with the algorithms or all those little things, like I'm willing to do that because
Yeah.
what I get out of it is exactly what's most important to me. So
I 100% agree. 100% agree. That's a really good way to look at it. I never thought about it like that. Yeah, the cost of running any small business,
yeah,
whether it's like being a tattoo artist or, just your, typical mom and pop shop on the corner,
yeah,
that freedom is, you can't put a price on that freedom.
right.
I do think that tattoo artists now are starting to almost take back a lot of the power that I think they should have always had, but social media has definitely given the artist more power to kind of be valued for like their art. I guess I don't exactly know how to word it, but I guess through these collaborations, um, when I'm talking with investors and other companies and trying to explain to them what I want to do and get out of this. And I always tell them like I want to almost humanize tattoo artists because I feel like for so long, and I see it every day with clients with my artist who's right ahead of me. Like people are fucking rude,
People are ruthless. People
ruthless,
are ruthless.
and I think it's the tides are turning though, and I think artists are starting to gain more of that control back. And I want to help in any way I can to push that because like some of the shit that she tells me that these people say, I'm like I would literally block them and never want them to be in contact with me again.
You know, it's really interesting. We talk about this a lot at the tattoo shop because I work in a shop with there's 8 of us all together.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all those kind of instances that you're talking about all the time where people just they don't understand how it works and they come in they're like I want this and then they want to change it a million times and then they want to like ask you or I don't know there's just so many things but um, a big part of it is our responsibility to communicate that stuff and so we get frustrated that these people don't know like someone comes in to get their first tattoo and they they're like can I get tattooed today and we're like we you can book an appointment or there is walk-ins or whatever but
Yeah.
it's how are they supposed to know how I do my job
Yeah.
there's no book there's no rules we didn't put the info on our website it's like it's our responsibility just as much like we can complain about it as a joke but like if you really want to solve the problem like communication is what it comes down to. So like podcasts where you're talking to people and we're sharing these stories, like it is really important. And that is why Instagram is such a beautiful tool because it's not just a portfolio where we're sharing our work. It's this space where we can share about our daily lives or like explain like this came up today and this is how I feel about it and this is why. And then it becomes a conversation because of the way that the app works. It's like those are
Yeah.
good platforms to have that
Yeah.
space.
I totally agree. I was thinking about doing some short videos on like how to book an appointment or how to take care of your tattoo after. There's this one company, I won't say who, but they posted a video of like it was a reputable company that should not have posted this. They were taking off the new skin or the skin that you put over
Yeah.
the tattoo. I don't know what it's
Vanoderm
called.
or Tegaderm.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how you're supposed to like pull it down with the skin? They just ripped it right off. Like
Oh.
I'll send it to you later, but I saw it and I was like there's no way that this company is posting that video because it like goes against everything that they should be kind of promoting. But just like it's stuff like that and I think mostly toward the booking aspect of it cuz now that I'm my day to day is with my artist cuz I do all
Right.
the filming for her and stuff.
Mhm.
I see the client artist interactions with when she opens her books and the messages people send um and like it hurts me more than it hurts her. I'm like these
She's used to
people.
it.
Yeah, she's definitely used to
She
it.
knows how to deal. Well, that's the cost that she's willing. to endure for what she
Yeah.
gets. So I mean, there is something to say about that. Like you, you, it doesn't even matter if you were to, if I was to understand, like, if you were like, this is how you book an appointment, that only applies to certain people.
That's true. Yeah.
As pirates, because because tattooers are essentially, we're just a bunch of pirates. We make our own rules. We
Yeah.
do what we want when we want to do it. So like that amount of freedom in what we do is what makes it complicated for someone to interact with us.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's important for each and every artist to communicate how they do their work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that tattoo artists, I mean, you definitely have a leg up in the game because you have the marketing background and like you understand all that. Do you think that tattoo artists are soon going to almost have to be a personality as well? Because I
Uh,
guess,
I wouldn't say have to, but I mean, there's different kinds of relationships with your tattooer. I
mhm.
think that like there's people that have a huge following. People are looking at their work because their work is so insane. Nobody
Yeah,
knows even what they look like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's that like direction, and then yeah, there is the direction of like a personality, which I would say I kind of lean into that a little bit.
Mhm.
People feel like they know me, and most of them do.
Yeah,
Really, they really do know a lot about me, and even people that have never met me before. I've had like people walk up and like, oh my god, hey, like it's so great to meet you, like you're Cat James, whatever, you're Old Soul New Tricks, or, and I'm like, that's crazy. You're excited to meet someone you technically don't know me, but like
yeah.
you've seen so much of what I've shared that you kind of do know me, and
Right,
it's
yeah.
yeah, and so I think I don't know, it's tricky because it's an opportunity for us because we get to be ourselves and then we get to attract people that like us,
Hmm.
which I see as an opportunity because 99% of the people I tattoo, I end up being super good friends with them
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm sharing that aspect of who I am. Um, but when the frick do we have time to share all this shit? It's
It
yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure. I think
really is.
that it is, but um, you get to choose that. No one's forcing you. That
Hmm.
idea of like you have to do this, no, that's not true.
Yeah,
You don't have to. You can focus on your work and just do your work. You could book however you want. You can open your books. You can have walk, like you can literally do whatever you want. No one is forcing you to do anything. You can figure out how to be successful in your own way, and feeling like you have to do it like everyone else is on you.
totally, totally. I've noticed that out of all the artists I've reached out to, a lot of females have been more than willing to like do a collaboration and kind of open up about the mental health aspect of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only a few guys, like I've reached out to hundreds of artists. There's only a few guys that have kind of
Interesting.
been vulnerable to it and been like kind of enthusiastic about the correlation between mental health and tattoos.
Yeah.
Um, and I've also realized to that point that a lot of male artists aren't really leaning into the trying to be a personality side, which is nothing wrong with. I think there's a lot of peace in just doing your work, and if that's the lifestyle you want to live, that's totally cool.
I would say
But
that's a symptom of our culture in general.
100%.
Because to be a personality type, half the reason why people connect with us is because we're sharing things that are embarrassing or like things that are like vulnerable, or we're letting people in, we're letting people get to know us on a level that like a passerby wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
um and I mean, I know not all guys are like this doesn't apply to everyone, but like it's much more common for men to be more guarded with their feelings and their emotions.
100%. Yeah.
Just in
And
yeah.
that's definitely I don't I hate emphasizing like men's mental health, because it's not like that should never, I don't think that should be the conversation. I think the mental health conversation should be revolving around everyone because it applies to every single person. Um, but trying to, it's definitely, men just aren't as willing to, like you said, be vulnerable.
That's
And
that's interesting that you brought that up, because maybe all of the conversations we've had kind of meet at this point. Instagram and social media are on a rise. Women in the tattoo industry are on a rise, and maybe those
huge
aren't
rise.
unrelated.
Yeah, I don't think they are. I really don't. I think women, from what I've seen, do a way better job at promoting their stuff. Um, as far as tattoo artists, like, because that's pretty much the only thing I focus on 24/7 is just artists and tats.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, women do a much better job at promoting. They are more consistent, and they understand the value of growth and how it'll in turn make them money and promote their art more, get more clients, et
Well,
cetera, et cetera.
they have an intrinsic ability or like comfort with sharing, and this tool that happens to be on the rise goes well with that. So it's just like
Mm-hmm.
right
100%.
time kind of thing.
Yeah. I totally agree. Are you on a time crunch or anything?
No.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's an odd conversation, and like, to the mental health point, I guess with these scholarships that I'm trying to do, I don't exactly know the solution to, this kind of massive problem that we have in the world. And through these scholarships that are, sponsored by artists like yourself, like, you picked a school, and when the fund gets to that point, you're gonna have the second scholarship offered from Lonely Cowboy, which would be super cool, and I'm super stoked for that. But I think that it's definitely a conversation about just giving kids opportunities to learn about it, and not necessarily push anything on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just open the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, when you were in high school, do you remember anything about a conversation of mental health, like, at all?
I was gonna say I literally didn't even no, I hadn't even heard about like therapy or any of that stuff until I was like much older.
Mm-hmm.
Much older. No, we never talked about that. And I this is kind of gnarly, but when I was 19, my dad committed suicide. And I had no idea he was struggling. He had no tools to even talk about them. Like, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even just an age thing. I think it's a generational thing. Like, in
100%.
the 90s, nobody talked about that. And that was like, it felt like when that happened to me and I was 19, the first thing I remember thinking was like, this only happens in the movies.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
gnarly.
I don't even know how to deal with this in real life because there's nothing like that I know about. So, no, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
super important for kids. And I know now there's a lot of things like they have yoga in their classes or whatever. And I've talked to some friends that are teachers, and there's a lot more going on. So there's the education is there and it's happening, which is really good.
Well,
But it
that's good
definitely needs.
news. I I personally have never heard, like, I don't know of the education system changing in the way that you said, like, teachers who
Oh yeah.
are doing
Oh yeah.
stuff like that. um I mean, that's amazing. I think that should happen in every school,
Yeah. For
but it's definitely not where it needs to be, and that part scares me.
sure.
Just because, like, no one really talks about it. Like the conversation's obviously there and people understand now that mental health is important, but there's not enough action about it.
Yeah. I actually had, and this ties back to tattoos too, because I had a conversation with a close friend, and I was talking about how I've done a couple tattoos, or I had just done one recently over someone's self harm scars,
Yeah.
and people come in wanting them covered up all the time, and I mentioned that to my close friend, and she goes, I only ever like cut myself like once in like high school when I was like a sophomore, and I was like, wait, what? You never told me about that. She's like, yeah, like everybody was doing it. It was like a fad, you know, like all the emo kids. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it was a fad? Like you talked to other people doing it? Like, what do you mean it was a fad? Where did you see it? I was so interested. And with
Mm-hmm.
this thing in the back of my head that I knew we were going to have this conversation, I was like, oh my God, this is such a trip. Um,
Right.
so I've brought it up since with a couple different friends, and I can't believe the number of my friends that did that as a kid.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's crazy that every person you think you know and
Oh
you
yeah.
probably know super well, but there's always some sides that you just come out later in life and you're like, holy shit,
Well, it's
that.
brought up a bunch of interesting conversations in my community with tattooers and with friends that have gotten tattoos from me. And some people come in to get tattoos as a coping mechanism for the same similar kinds of things that they would have done self harm for before.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And it gets tricky because it's like, okay, you're still you're still intentionally harming yourself technically, although you're having like a professional do it.
Yeah.
And so I just posed the question to a couple friends just to see what people would say, and I was like, what do you think makes it okay? Like, why do we think it's okay and it's a positive thing to get a tattoo versus like cutting yourself or something else?
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of them said something along the lines of, there's a positive, like optimistic approach to that coping mechanism. It's like looking up. It's not like hurting yourself or um, being upset about something. It's about like looking forward and outside of whatever caused you the pain, and then giving you something to remember when you think about that again. Or yeah, it was a really interesting thing to hear everybody say kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I know for me, like getting tatted it is a form of therapy.
Yeah.
And especially the longest piece I've had is about 6.5 hours. And it was on my chest. I got it in, it hurt like a bitch, but it, I got it in Bali, and I've had some other pieces that are 5+, but once you get into that 5 hour range, that's when like
Mental. So
you
mental.
really start seeing how far you can push your limits.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for most people who have gotten long tattoos understand that there's like that feeling is you can't replicate it.
No.
And
So much stuff is going on in your body physiologically. Like your
yeah,
body is pumping full of adrenaline and dopamine and all this stuff, and all of
yeah,
your body heat goes to the site of trauma, so your body's like cold and you're sweating. It's crazy.
yeah. That's an interesting topic of conversation. Like, what are the typical physical traits that come when you're getting long tattoos, I guess?
Yeah. So I mean, those ones are definitely so. Your body can only produce adrenaline for like a certain amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
or like, it depends on how it's triggered, how long it lasts, or whatever. But also, there's like a matter of like your blood sugar levels too. So like that's why people are like, oh, like bring a snack to your thing or whatever. How well hydrated your skin is makes a huge difference to how your tattoo goes. I know
Mm-hmm.
people do not know that. And so that also like gives your body a little bit more like sustainability, like it can keep up with pain. I've had people come in and that usually they can sit through a tattoo and be like 3 hours and they're like sitting there like a rock. And
Yeah.
one day they come in and they're like an hour in, they were like struggling. I was like, yo, what's your deal today? I was like, you've been drinking a lot of water? And they're like, yeah, I've been drinking a lot of water. And I was like, have you been sleeping well? And they're like, not at all. And I was like, okay, next time
Damn.
like, go home, let's do this again. Because think about it, when your body, there's things that your body needs. And when you're tired, you ever been driving when you're like super tired and it feels like the worst feeling in the world because you're like, I literally hate everything about this.
Yeah.
That's like, it's because your body needs sleep in order to operate everything else. It's like a foundation, just like water and sustenance and stuff. So like, if you don't have that and you get put in a situation where your body's like, okay, we need to defense up, like make some adrenaline, make some dopamine, and your body's like, no, dude, I don't have it. Like you can't fight if you don't have like the ability to even just like stay awake.
That's crazy. Yeah. I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I think
and water are like huge things that make your tattoo way, way, way better. Water.
Yeah. Do you're obviously heavily tatted. Do you think once you get to a point of like where it becomes so normal, then you don't really have those adrenaline spikes anymore?
Oh no, I don't think that's true at all.
Really?
You know, the most interesting time I ever tattooed somebody, it was this girl's been getting tattooed by me since I was an apprentice, and her brother lives, I want to say in Texas, and San Antonio. He's a what is it called? Skydiving instructor.
Yeah.
So this guy, think about this guy. He's done like thousands of jumps out of a plane. Like this guy's adrenaline, whatever produces adrenaline in his body is like, he's jumping out of planes all the time. And he loves it every time. He's like, he said that it doesn't decrease just because he's like, your body still is going through everything physiologically that it went through the first time. Whether your mind is kind of bored, I've done this before, your body doesn't get like that.
Got you.
And so he came in to get tattooed and I was giving him his first tattoo. And we start going and we're like 20, 30 minutes in. So like your body doesn't really start producing adrenaline until like a couple minutes in. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
But once it obviously was, he was like, it looked like I was giving him drugs. Dude, I am not kidding you. This guy was like, holy shit, it feels so good. Like, and after, he was so euphoric. It was like I literally just gave drugs to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get the euphoria feeling for sure.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I've seen that on one other person when they finished. I did a tattoo around this guy's elbow. And I was filling it in. Like, it was very, very filled in solid.
Yeah.
And he got up and he was just like, oh my God. Like, I feel like he didn't even say those words and he didn't even really realize what was happening. But I was like,
yeah, that's gnarly.
Oh, dude.
The elbow is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's like heavily
like filled in and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine. I have like a little. It is, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's cool that our bodies like deal with it.
Yeah.
Like they have their own coping mechanism to them.
Yeah. Do you think you're gonna be fully tatted at some point? Like full body?
I mean, I wouldn't even really consider myself heavily tatted. I have a lot on my arms and legs in places that show. But, no, I don't know. I like the amount of tattoos I have. I like white space. I think it looks nice.
Yeah.
I also just know that I'll continue getting tattooed as I get older, and I want to collect them, and I don't want to fill up spaces and then not have spaces for, like, when I do go travel to cool places that I want to.
Yeah.
Or meet tattooers, or decide I want to do something else on myself and not have the space. So I'm not in a hurry.
Gotcha. Yeah. I am the opposite. I would get a tattoo every day if I could.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I want to be I want full body. It's just the healing process is what gets me because, like, honestly, when I got my tattoo on Thursday with my artist, I usually take about 4 to 5 days off of like going to yoga and boxing and everything. And I've realized like when I can't do those things, I just turn into a way different person.
Yeah. I mean, talk about mental health. Those things are like, I box too. And it's turned into something that I like really look forward to. And when I got tattoos, I got, you might be interested in this. I got tattooed by 2 people at the same time.
Damn.
I just wanted to experience it and see what all the hype is about. So I had a piece on my ankle, on the inside of my ankle, and then this whole like dragon guy on the inside.
Dang,
and
that's dope.
It was like such a trip, but yeah, it just the healing app. I was like, usually you're healing something, and then you can kind of do things around it, and it's like, no, it was my ankle and my arm. So I like went for a couple days, and I just got really antsy. Like I needed to like expel energy, but I like couldn't figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's the worst feeling in the world. Like, not being able to just release when you need to release.
This is going back to your this scholarship stuff, but like, can you explain how you pick the like the people who receive them? Can you like tell me about that?
Yeah. So I guess I'll go through the whole scholarship rundown. So when we do a collaboration with artists like yourself, you picked a school, and I won't release the name of the school until the scholarship can be offered to it.
Okay.
But basically, like, since you're technically the first of this system that I created, my artist was the artist previous to this, but we did it in a different format. So she'll be number 1, you're number 2. Next artist is number 3, so that's 3 schools, and so on and so forth. And every time our scholarship fund reaches $500, whether that's through what we donate as a company to our fund or outside donors putting stuff into our fund. So let's say we had a very generous donation from someone for like $5,000, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then we had X amount of schools on our list, we could offer however many scholarships that would be. I think it would be probably 10, right? 500. Yeah. So 10 scholarships right away. And the process is, this is how I want to do it. I don't know if every school will allow this, but I want to make our application very straightforward. It's open to all students. You don't have to go to college or university, post-graduation. Basically just expressing your interest in mental health education and like showing that you're taking steps to want to learn more about it and be self-aware enough to understand that it's important, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
it's like a written application.
Yeah. In an ideal world, I think this is the best way to do it, is make it super straightforward and send the file to the high school and guidance counselors, etc., and have them print it out and put it on every desk in a homeroom. So the scholarship's actually like in front of these kids' faces, and they can see that it doesn't cost any money to apply. You don't have to have any requirements for it. And that way more people see that like mental health is being rewarded, I guess. Because that's the goal. Like, the scholarships are great and everything, and the money can only go so far for the kids that are awarded. But I think the long-lasting effect of these scholarships won't be seen for like 10 years until, we have a success story from a kid who, was struggling and applied to the scholarship, and we helped him get his first plane ticket to Bali or whatever. and then he goes on to become something huge in the mental health community. It's really just giving the opportunity is the big goal.
So I don't know if it's a suggestion or what do you call it, but I think that kids have like so much going on socially, and they're trying to fit in, and they're trying to get good grades so they can go to college, or maybe they're just not even thinking about that. Like, if you get a paper laid down in front of you to write more stuff or do more work, like, I don't even think that the number $500 is like gonna phase them unless it like really captivates them or like gets
Mm-hmm.
their attention in some way. And if they know that it's like associated with this whatever lonely cowboys and like maybe your face or your vision or whatever, like, I honestly think that like there's a more captivating way to get their attention and to pitch the like proposal. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
100%, 100%. So, like, for example, the school you picked, when I make that scholarship page, the scholarship's the same, but it would be the Lonely Cowboy Scholarship sponsored by Cat James, tattoo artist out of Denver or Australia if you're in Australia.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it
and
should say that I like graduated from that high school or whatever.
yeah, we could do whatever we want. Like when that time comes, I
Okay.
can, we can play with the format of the scholarship and, how we want it to be presented.
Okay, cool. So it's
And
different.
I think to your point of like trying to get these kids more interested in it, we live in the world of social media now. And as
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
business owner, like you and I are both going to be on social media promoting our work and everything. Even if we had our handles on the scholarship, it's definitely has never been done before on a scholarship
Right.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that would definitely incentivize kids to be like, that's crazy. Like,
You're totally right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I
there's,
forget that like we live in a different like my high school for me was so different than what they experience now. Like they have Instagram. Like that's crazy.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I don't know. I feel bad for the parents that have to have
yeah.
kids with all of this stuff. Oh my god, it's crazy.
It's wild. And, I think about this topic so often. These kids, like, are geniuses. They're so smart, but it's a double-edged sword because they have access to all this information and they can do anything they put their mind to. But the amount of opportunity is almost too great and too large because now like they don't.
Too many, yeah, too many things to choose from. Or
Yeah, and I find myself struggling with that too. I want to do
oh
this,
yes,
that, and the other. So it's definitely difficult, but it's the whole goal of this company, these scholarships, is to push mental health education further because I don't think the schools are doing enough. And if we don't change that soon, we're not going to see the repercussions of it for 20, 30 years down the line.
right, yeah,
It's a slow burn. And I originally wanted Lonely Cowboy to be a nonprofit, but to start a nonprofit, it costs a few grand, and to start an LLC, it costs a few hundred. So it was like, I'm just not gonna waste a few grand when I don't have to.
yeah,
But I think eventually it will be a nonprofit, and or at least a nonprofit will come out of it in some way. But
yeah.
but yeah, this was a great conversation. Um, anything to add or wrap up? I know you're leaving Denver, so are your books open, totally closed? Like,
Books are totally close.
yeah,
Yeah, I have packed every single possible minute that I'm here. I'm literally tattooing every single day until
yeah,
I leave. Um, but yeah, keep an eye out for old soul fiestas in the future for sure. I don't know what my tattooing life is gonna look like, but most likely I will be doing that again too in Australia. I think
right on.
other places, but um, yeah.
I I really like that the Old Soul Fiesta uh, kind of framework that you have built and want to do around the world. I think that is really fucking cool, and I don't know anyone else who's done that, you know,
Yeah.
which is dope. Finding a new idea like that is super cool.
Yeah, it's a cool space because it allows a lot of different people to get a lot of different things out of it, and by
Mm-hmm.
participating they're helping someone else get that out of there. So it's just this like really weird mutually beneficial thing that came completely organically by itself. Like I kind of pushed things along when I saw the opportunity, but like I wasn't going out like I'm going to start an event where I can do this and this and this. It was like it just like
Just happened.
the universe just wanted it to happen. It was like, Cat James, it's you're doing it.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I think you're gonna have a lot of success with that around the world because
I hope
it's
so.
plug and play. Honestly, like you can go anywhere and do that.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm rooting for you. If you ever need anything from me, let me know. Lonely Cowboy has your back forever now, and I can't
Thanks.
wait to offer that scholarship when the time comes.
Hey, well,
I'll,
it goes both ways. So if you need anything, you need me to connect you to some people in Australia.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a ton. Well, yeah. What's your handle on Instagram? Old Soul
Um,
New Tricks.
Old Soul, New Tricks. Soul is SOL, not
Right
you.
on.
Yeah.
So, if anyone listening or watching wants to find Kat and her adventures around the world, I would say is that the best place to kind of follow along?
Yeah, that's the best place.
Right on. Right on. Alrighty. Well, it was great chatting, and like I said, you got a friend in me whenever you need.
Thanks, Colin.
And Lonely Cowboy is going to make some moves soon that will be very beneficial to both of us. That I will tell you off camera.
Sounds
All right. I'll
Thank you.
catch you next time. Have a good one. Peace.